Today is an extremely important day in Europe. It's the Holocaust Memorial Day, which of course has a particular stain on the conscience of Europe. What does it mean for you?
We today have a community of about 1.6 million Jews left in Europe. And before the Holocaust, we had 9.5 million Jews here. So 6 million were killed, and many decided afterwards to emigrate to safer shores. I see it as my duty as the president of the Conference of European Rabbis to make sure that there is a Jewish future here. And this Jewish future is not guaranteed. There are a lot of different turbulences which are affecting Europe right now. And this also directly affects the Jewish community.
You're speaking to the Parliament today. The European Union has done a lot of work in its looking at its values in terms of religious tolerance and the protection of minorities in its setup. Do you think the European Union is doing enough as an organization? It seems to have raised the importance of tackling anti-Semitism to the highest level.
I think that the European Union is doing a lot, especially lately with anti-Semitism, which is spreading through the social media and through the internet, and calling the tech giants to the table and telling them that they have to monitor and they're responsible for the content on their platforms. However, anti-Semitism is not the only issue our community is dealing with. We're also dealing with infringement of religious freedoms in some of the European countries. That's a trend which is becoming more prevalent lately because of the populism which is traveling through this continent. And we would like to see more action from the European Union in this respect.
As an organization, you've pointed out to changes in laws, for example, in Wallonia and Flanders on ritual slaughter. And you compared them to Nazi Germany. Is that excessively harsh? I mean, I think most people would think they were motivated by, animal welfare rather than bigotry.
I explicitly said that the law is the same law, even though the reasoning behind the law might be totally different. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, the effect might be the same.
So, do you think this will affect community relations? And what would you say to leaders in Wallonia and Flanders about this?
What I would like to tell them is the following. They always declare that Europe without Jews is not Europe, or Belgium without Jews is not Belgium. Okay, if you want the Jews to stay in your country, in your region, you have to give them freedom of faith. To tell them, you can stay here, but we're going to tell you how to conduct your religion, that's not freedom of faith.
In terms of your grievous concerns, you mentioned social media. We've also seen a rise in the far right in Europe. Is that something that gives you concern when we see more extreme parties getting a foothold in government, sometimes being part of coalition governments?
But continuing the issues we have been discussing regarding religious freedom, many of the initiatives curtailing religious freedoms come from the extreme right. It does not come, and it makes this unholy alliance where politics makes strange bedfellows between animal rights parties or children's rights parties and the far right parties. I think it has much more to do about two-legged animals and anti-immigration measures than it has to do with four-legged animals. Yes, the far right, the rise of the far right in Europe is very concerning. You have within the far right elements which are neo-Nazi, and some of the far right parties have been founded by SS officers. So we're not too far away from World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to make sure that the lessons of the past are learned, and what happened in Europe 77 years ago will never happen again.
In your own country where you live, have you seen signs of rising anti-Semitism?
Regarding anti-Semitism, since everything is very much controlled by the government, so this is also an issue which is controlled by the government, and therefore there's been very little, call it street anti-Semitism, and this has been one of the good news coming from my country.
And like all religious faiths at the moment, there are challenges with COVID. I mean, I don't know whether you've had restrictions on your religious services or not. Is that something that concerns you?
Corona has been a great challenge for all of us, especially for religious congregations of every faith. It meant that most of gatherings, of religious gatherings, were impossible during the last year. Now continuing to be impossible, but we put the value of human life as the most important value in Judaism. So saving a person's life by not endangering a person, coming to contact with other people, is more important than holding religious services.
Rabbi, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.